So first, what we want to do is talk about some basic steps you need to do to actually get started here. First of all, I strongly suggest you use the virtual desktop interface that we have here at Sullivan. Once you're there, I want you to go ahead and log into our departmental server. You've done this a few times already. You actually sent me screenshots showing me that you can actually get in. Hopefully you kept that. If not, I can help you get back in if you need to. Just let me know by email. But you're going to log into that server. Remember that your username is always uppercase, and your uppercase, and your password is actually case sensitive as well. Once you're there, go ahead and go to MySQL. And we're going to do all these here in just a minute, just so you can see these, how we're going to follow through with it. Now, once you've got that, what I want you to do is open up Notepad+, or Notepad, or whatever plain text editor you have, and just prepare what we call a script file. A script file is nothing more than a plain text file, just plain text, no fancy formatting, nothing else, that actually you're going to use to store all your stuff, and then I should be able to take it, run your same script against your same database, and hopefully same answers, so that we can make sure you're getting the right kind of solutions here. I prefer at the top here also that you add comments to describe what in the world you're doing. Again, I'll show you an example here in just a few moments, just so you'll see exactly what we're talking about. Now, for each exercise, you're going to answer whatever number problem exercise it is supposed to be in the script file first, type it out, and then once you have that, you can copy that answer over to the server, to your actual MySQL account. Now, the reason I do this is because if you've got something wrong and you need to fix it, you're going to have to either type it and then copy and go and correct like we're going to do, or you type it in the server and then you type it again and again and again. Unfortunately, there's no easy way to copy stuff from the server, from a text file part of the server, over to your text file you turn in with me. So this right here helps you prepare something that gives you something to drop in a mailbox or a Dropbox for me. And then check your answers. If the answer is right, go on to the next exercise, keep moving, and letter B, if anything is wrong, go back to step 1, and it is a cycle. You just keep passing through this. So those are the steps you're going to be using every single time. You're going to create something and then move it over to the server to check it. If it's good, go on to the next one. If not, head back and complete the cycle again until you get the correct answer. All right, so that's the end of this homework help. We're going to use the Premier database. We're going to use the Henry Books database, and for the first time use the Alexandra. So what I want to do is go over here to PuTTY. I have already logged in on my student account, and I'm waiting to now get into the MySQL part of it. Once we get there, we'll go over and talk about a script file. So for MySQL, it's just the command MySQL, all lowercase, -u, and then you supply your username. That's what the -u is for. After that, -p, and please make sure that letter P is lowercase p, not capital. It's easy to leave it capital because your caps lock was on for your ID, but it needs to be lowercase p, so it says that you're going to supply a password. You don't type your password here. In fact, you press enter at this point, and it will prompt you for your password. Once you're successfully in, you'll have this message here that says, "Welcome to the MySQL monitor." And then you're now at a MySQL prompt, so that you can actually tell that you're in the SQL server. All right, so we're in. Next thing I want to do is, on the slides we were looking at before, the next thing we need to do is actually go over here to Notepad+. Now, what I've done here is already started a file. The very top lines that are green starts with a /* and end with a */. Everything between those markers is a comment. So what I did is I copied from over here, actually. I copied from the lesson into here and just pasted it. I put this symbol at the beginning and these symbols here at the end. Since I'm going to use the Premier database first, I gave myself a comment telling me that I need to remember every single time to change to the right database. So I'm changing to Premier using my Premier account. And again, if you're not sure what your database name is, back here in MySQL, you can always type show databases, semicolon at the end, and there's my Premier database that I could have used. So now we've got the file prepared. First thing I need to do is answer question number 16, and if you do something like this, you're going to end up with a problem because, as you notice, Notepad likes to color things if it knows which language you're in. A plain text editor won't do this, But it's trying to tell me there that that means something to the SQL language, and if I run this just like that, I'm going to end up with a big error. So the only way you can actually annotate that this is number 16 is to wrap it in a comment. And I usually do something like that, just so I have a marker that says that's what this answer is supposed to be. And then the next line I would begin answering number 16. So number 16 on page 132 states that we need to list the part number, part description, and on-hand value for each part whose number of units is on hand, whose number of units on hand is more than the average number of units on hand for all parts. And yeah, that sounds like a lot of double talk kind of stuff. So think about it this way. Without having to talk about Premiere that much, what if we were trying to figure out how much stock space I could allocate to cans at the grocery store? All right, so I've got so many different varieties of cans and different distributors and different kinds of other things that need to go on the shelf, but I have limited shelf space. So what I may do is just decide I'm going to have 20 cans of each product up there, throw them up there, and be done. But you know that some things sell better than others, and some things different times of year have higher demands. So the person that manages inventory may need to figure out which things at which times of the year or what seasons allow them to or require them to have more stock. That means I need to manage my inventory, my space especially, much better, especially out on the floor. So what he's trying to find out is I have a slot for 200 items, 20 pieces or 20 cans a piece, but some things sell better, some sell not so well. So certain parts of the year I may have 40 cans of this one thing, but only 10 of something else, and so there may be an average amount of parts or average amount of cans that are on the shelf. So what we're trying to do is find out which items, green beans, that I've got, normally the average of everything is 20, but I have 40. I'm trying to find that list there, that I'm trying to find how many items in my list are stocked heavier than the average of everything else. Okay, so that's kind of what this question is asking. So what we're going to do is actually, it says here, the hint to use a subquery. Now what I do whenever I don't exactly know where I'm going yet, I just read over the question and try to follow it straight through. So the beginning of this says, list the part number, part description, and on-hand value. So that would be something like this. Here's the part number, description, and the on-hand value, or on-hand, sorry. And all of those items are found in my part table. So that one's the easy one. And then it says for each part whose number of units on hand is more than the average. So where my on hand is more than, and here's the problem. This is probably where our subquery will have to come in, because what they want to know is the average of all parts. The average of all parts isn't hard to find. It's select and then the average of whatever it is from whatever table you're trying to deal with. So if we had to write that as a separate query, and we'll skip this one for just a moment, if I need to do the average of on hand, and they're all in the part table, I would do something just like that. So this top part, I'm finding these three items, and I want any one of these three listed where the on hand is bigger than that. If you think of it this way as two separate queries, it becomes real easy to do a subquery, because here I just need to do something like this. There's my subquery, and then don't forget the semicolon, because it designates that that's the end of this entire query here. All right. So we've got an answer written. We don't know if it's right yet, but we've got one written. I'm going to select all of this, simply copy it, go over here to Putty again, and then what I'm going to have here is, since I have already done the show databases, I haven't selected one yet. So if I click this in and tell it to do something with the part table, I'm not going to have a database selected. I need to make sure I do this use statement before I even get in. All right, so now once I have database changed, I know that I'm in a database. I can look back here and see that I'm in the Premier. Again, I've got this selected already and copied. So now if I right-click only, you don't have to right-click and paste, just right-click at the MySQL prompt. It will paste it over for you. Press Enter, and then here's where we have some kind of error. All right, so that's fine. What we need to do is figure out what exactly is going on and why do we have some kind of error somewhere. So what I would do is keep this window handy because it has all of the data that's wrong, and it says something about line 3, and it's looking at these as 3 separate lines. So something about where on hand greater than it really doesn't like. All right, and then notice it actually says it's near on hand, and then this part right here. So it's pretty darn obvious where things are on this. Now it's real easy. If you look at the way I did on hand all the way through, it should be on underscore hand. I did dash. So come back over and correct that, and I'm going back to my original file to correct it. That way if something happens, and say the SQL server shuts down before I can save all my stuff, I've got it right here, and I can always reopen and come back to it. Again, I'm going to copy that after I've made corrections. Just right-click at the MySQL prompt. Everything's good there. Press Enter, and sure enough, I've got all these numbers. Now, how in the world do you know if this is right or not without me grading it? Well, here's the easy way. All 4 of these numbers here need to be bigger than whatever the average is. Well, I don't know what the average is, but I've got a query over here that does. So if I just grab this, and actually the parentheses is going to mess me up here, I'll just grab that, right-click to paste it, put in my semicolon. So the average is 21.9. All of these are bigger than that, so I can kind of check my answers based on that. All right, so I would keep doing this. The instructions I gave you was if you get the right kind of answer, then go ahead and move on to number 17. If it's not correct, then do something else. So we have an answer that looks correct. I would then just skip a few lines, come in here and put in number 17, and go ahead and answer that. Now, please remember that later on, once you finish all of the ones in Premier Database, down through number 21, then the very next thing you need to do is change to the Henry database. And so then we'll pick up with Henry Books. I believe it's number 18 that we start with there. Sure is. And same thing. Oh, sorry, forgot to change. Now we have number 17. And I will continue through with all the Henry stuff. Then later you'll do all the ones for Alex Ammer as well. All right, so that concludes all the help for this week. If you have other questions, please post in the Ask the Instructor board. Let me create other videos for you, do whatever I can to help. If you're really stuck on something, we can even do a quick web chat or a Skype session or a GoToMeeting or something and help you out with that. All right, good luck.